Yes, everybody. Rush the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. We've got a game happening in a couple of hours' time with all the craziness that is the transfer window closing. And so, as we try and do, we've got a few more subscribers since last time. So, thank you for joining us. What we try and do is try and put together our predicted 11 ahead of the game against Chelsea. And I think it's going to be a little bit unpredictable, predicted 11. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Because for me, there's lots of unknowns. And obviously, Potter returns back to Chelsea. And I think Potter will want to put on a show as well, potentially, for obviously the travelling fans, but also for the Chelsea fans. Many sort of vilified him a little bit in terms of his time there, and obviously he sort of spoke quite openly at the spoke quite openly at the press conference about his time there, saying if that wasn't the success, I wouldn't be here where I want to be. So good to see Mr. Potter, our new celebrity. So let's crack on and try and predict the 11. Now, team news wise, it looks like, according to various sources and what Potter said himself, Bowen likely to be in. Somerville, probably not. Paqueta, 50-50. Mav back in the side. Obviously, Jean-Claire won't be back until the Brentford game. Obviously, after today, we've got 12 days until the next game, which will be the Brentford game. So by then, we've got enough time to bleed. That's it, not breed, bleed. Bleed in Evan Ferguson. Obviously, welcoming back a JWP into the side as well. So I think the Brighton game is going to be really fascinating, because by then you would assume that some of you will back. If Paqueta's not available today, you would assume he'll be back. Bowen, Todibo as well. And it does then give us more of a view of what the Graham Potter side would look. Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. So for me, for tonight, Areola, he's the goalkeeper. Makes perfect sense. He's a great distribution person in terms of a goalkeeper. Him and Fabianski, when you look at them similarly, I would suggest both have pluses and minuses from a goalkeeping, command in the box, making saves, that type of thing. Very similar. But in terms of distribution, that's where Areola shines. And indeed, if you watch the Villa game, particularly when he came back into the side, he was almost playing as an auxiliary centre-half. He was so far forward, and that's how Potter likes his goalkeepers to play. It mentioned as well, obviously, because Robert Sanchez was obviously Brighton goalkeeper, now he's at Chelsea, and there is talk of maybe even getting rid of him. Chelsea looking at a new goalkeeper. So let's go. I assume a back three is what's going to happen. And with Mavropanos back from his suspension, I think Mav plays. I think Kilman plays Ovs in the middle, and then Aaron Cresswell on the left-hand side. I think, unless we buy another centre-half, I think that's probably... Although with Todibo back in, would that mean Cresswell moves out and Kilman goes to the left-hand side? And Kilman, Todibo, or Mavropanos in the middle with the other one on the right-hand side? Maybe. Personally, I would still like to see Wan-Bissaka on that right-hand side of the back three. And indeed, you got to think of the types of players we've got available to us. I wouldn't think that'd be a bad idea. Because also, I look back at when Somerville played in the Aston Villa game in the Cup, and he played as a right wing back, and that's something that Potter likes to do with his wing backs. They're more like wingers than they are defenders, and I think it'd be fascinating to see with Somerville and Bowen back whether he would even function them both as wing backs potentially. He's done with Somerville on the right hand side. Ideally, his best place is on the left hand side, and you'd have the back three, and then you have two sort of defensive-minded centre midfielders. So it's almost like 5 defenders, 5 attackers, and a goalkeeper. And I think that could be quite exciting. But for tonight, I would assume he'll go with Emerson. I assume he'll go with Wan-Bissaka, particularly with the question mark around Paqueta's availability tonight, with Alvarez and Tommy Souček, who we know was linked to Brighton, and Potter was looking at him when he was at Brighton. So, although we assumed that that Souček was going to be someone who's going to maybe be a casualty of Potter, might not be the case. Might not be the case. Now, I think what's going to be interesting to see is what happens with this front three. Now, there's a couple of options. Obviously, we couldn't use one of them yet because he's only just signed in terms of Evans Ferguson. The assumption is if Paqueta is out, then I would assume it would be. Now, I'm not saying these would be the final positions, but almost you'd have Bowen, Kudus. Oh God, can't be Bowen, and Soler, and then sometimes it will be Bowen in the middle and Kudus there. Maybe let me just do this. Maybe Souček a little bit more advanced, just to be that out ball and do flick-ons, because where Paqueta can do that, obviously Bowen can't. It'd be great if what's name was. Be great if it was something like this, wouldn't it? If Somerville was fit, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool. Or even, you could, I'd love this. I'd love this if everyone was fit. Just fucking go for it, innit? You know what I mean? Something like that. You have Bowen and Somerville as wing backs, and then when everyone's fit, you'd have Bosch, and then Bosch. That does make me slightly horny. I like that. Not really very, those wing backs are more. They're not really wing backs, really. In all honesty, it's almost like a 4-2. They're basically up there, aren't they? Really pushing forward. But yeah. Anyway, that's obviously not what's going to happen tonight. But be interesting to know your thoughts around who would you play tonight? Obviously we're sort of a little bit hamstrung. I think what we're interested to see if we. Oh God, that's better. I think it'd be interesting to see. Coming back in, how JWP works. We had Darren Blewett on at lunchtime, who's obviously very pro. If you haven't seen Twitter, very pro. James Ward-Prowse coming back, and it could give us a little bit of a thought process in terms of the position Lewis Orford would eventually take in the side, because there's a lot of similarities between himself and JWP in my eyes. Having seen a lot of Lewis up close, very classy player. He'll be on the bench tonight, and as well in Kalen. Neither played on Friday. Ollie will be on the bench. Interested to see about Danny Ings, if Danny Ings will be on the bench, and Luis Guilherme as well. With was it Shakhtar Donetsk looking at him, and I think we've just got to get through this game. And then I think when Brentford comes, you've got to assume, apart from the long-term injuries of Antonio and Fulkrug and Touchwood, nothing that happens tonight, we could have a virtually fully fit squad apart from them too. We'd like to Jean-Claire Beck, plus also Evan Ferguson, plus also someone like JWP back as well, plus any others as well who might come in. But anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith. See you a bit later on. Much love. Bye-bye.